This man's name is Merlin. He is a professional deceiver. All he needs to do is change his wrist and do a combination of punches. Can make anyone do his bidding. It turns out he is an ancient magician. 100 years ago, once assisted King Arthur in ascending to the throne of God, but the succession of King Uther's younger brother, making his half-sister very jealous. There was a wave of uprisings. Failed in the end. I was kicked into the ground by my little brother and max-level Master Merlin. Even if the old witch is sealed, she will not forget the waves of yin and yang. The ancestral curse is waiting for King Uther to die and return to the west. When the time comes, you will crawl out from the ground. Good guy, this is pretty scary when you put it this way. At present, the previous generation of kings has returned to the west for more than 500 years. The purpose of Merlin's resurrection is to find a new king. The new king has a characteristic. It's the ability to draw a unique sword that symbolizes the Lord's inheritance. This sword is more than 3 feet long. The sword is powerful. At first glance, it's not just an ordinary sword. And he also has a mighty and domineering name. Sword in the Stone. It was pulled out last night. Merlin relies on his big fooling fist. Success comes with clothes. He also confused the police uncle and sent him to school. And he has only one purpose here. That's the guy who was lucky enough to be chosen by the Sword in the Stone. A new generation of kings. Merlin had been staring at the young man since he sat down. This made the young man feel very uncomfortable. In a blink of an eye, it's time to go to astronomy class. The little teacher was talking about the total solar eclipse in 4 days on the stage. These words fell into Merlin's ears. He suddenly exploded. He rushed into the cafeteria and told the boy. The boy now is no longer the boy he used to be, but a new generation of kings chosen by fate. He wants to form an army of his own. Then he raised the sword in the stone and chopped the old witch to death. Led humanity to save the world. How would you react if you heard this? If this was said to the boy when he was 3 years old, he might be happy thinking he is Ultraman. But the boy now is 13 years old. Get away. Merlin was forced to do so after being scolded. The boy doesn't listen to the old saying. He had no choice but to raise an army for the young man himself. Good people. This country is facing great danger. This boy among you drew the sword in the stone. Who is willing to be his vassal and loyal to him? Merlin's ridiculous behavior made his classmates laugh. Look at the bright smiles of all you little cuties. I know everyone thinks he is crazy. The young man didn't take Merlin to heart either. As a joke, the left ear heard it and then let it out. In the evening, the boy started reading again, the drawing book that Lao Duo left for himself. He was surprised to find that there was also a sword in the book. And it has the same name as the sword he drew, also called the Sword in the Stone. The young man was secretly surprised. I thought I picked up the same figure in the painting book. I thought the corresponding thing was just a coincidence. But soon the young man will pay the price for his naivety. The boy is getting ready to sleep. The next moment there was movement outside the window. The young man came over to take a look. I almost didn't get scared. I saw a giant monster lying in his yard. This monster moves very fast. When the boy looked again, he was already downstairs. Monster holding weapon. Kuchi opened the door with a kick. It's a stick when it comes up. Momentum at the beginning, but these next few steps seem a bit amateurish. Even the 3 swords were dodged by the young man. Then the monster became angry and headed towards the boy's door. But this unlucky guy didn't succeed in the end, because a person suddenly appears. Successfully rescued the boy. He was starved to death by his own brother for more than 800 years. I almost destroyed the world by myself. And now she's coming back again. If the young man cannot survive the total solar eclipse 3 days later, kill the witch. At that time, the whole world will once again fall into catastrophe. The young man who met the Death Soul Knight finally believed Merlin's words. He is really the king who can save the world. He wants to take Xiaopong with him to save the world. Have to say, having a friend like this makes Xiaopong really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. The two came to the place where the young man drew his sword to discuss countermeasures. Now is the time when survival is at stake. The young man is worried that there is no one available. Then suddenly 2 people popped out. They are Da Zhuang and Kuei respectively. These 2 are the strongest in the school. Many people bully their classmates because of their height and length. And the young man and Xiaopong are also unable to escape their clutches. This guy is worthy of being a kid who can sit in the top position. That little head is spinning so fast. I saw him insert the sword in the stone into the ground. Immediately afterwards came a wave of provocations. He made a bet with Da Zhuang. Who among them can be the first to pull out the sword in the stone from the ground? Then the other person will listen to the winner. I have to say that this method of stimulating generals is really useful. Let Da Zhuang rub it and get on top. I'm thinking silently in my heart that it's just you, the mistress. I still want to compete with my boss. While walking to the sword in the stone, I exerted my strength. This result shocked Da Zhuang. But the young man was not surprised. So that's it. The young man successfully subdued 2 followers. That's it. The 4-person rescue team assembled. Before the young man could explain things clearly to them, the rescue team faced its first disaster. Several dead souls emerged from the ground, running straight towards the young man. Look at the dead souls covered in bright red flames. The young man had an idea and used the gasoline on his feet to roll towards them. I didn't expect this damn dead soul disciple to be unafraid of fire. He also transformed directly into a ball of fire. Several people were forced to run into the street, looking for help. At this time, with the blessing of the magic power of the witch, they have come to another strange space where they are the only ones left. In order to survive, they had no choice but to drive away. It was so easy to get rid of the dead soulsman. The shocked young man was again, even more sexy, big and strong, kidnapped and brought home. The young man explained all the situation at Da Wang's house, including the origin of female Morgana and King Uther. It also explains the purpose of those dead soul disciples. It is to send off the new generation of Wang Guishi, resurrection of the old witch Morgana, to destroy the world. These words made Da Zhuang and Kui Hua excited. Directly decided to follow this guy to save the world. In the first stop they want to go to, it's in the prophecy painting book, Yentire Island, home of the legendary witch. I got on the bus the next day. In the car they met the wizard Merlin again. Merlin was very positive about their plan. Not only take them to take a shortcut, he also used the sword in the stone to copy and paste 3 weapons for them. This coquettish chubby little girl is Dazzle. The little fanboy is usually recording the video next to me. He handed the weapons into the hands of the 4 people. He also summoned a bunch of tree spirits to practice with the 4 of them, to improve their fighting skills. And not far away, a black tree vine is approaching. Next moment, the originally gentle tree spirit instantly turned black. The young man was knocked to the ground by a spinning tree vine. He was tied to the ground. The vines pulled him and kept sinking into the soil. 4 people in trouble. At this time, Merlin, who had just left, returned in time. I saw him activate his traditional skills again. A burst of flowers followed by an explosion destroyed all enemies. And at the same time, because of too much magic power loss, you can't take action again until the next day. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly turned into a sparrow. The young man and his party are in trouble. But to save the world, we can only move forward bravely. They met several hunters just before dusk. The kind-hearted hunter put the 4 people on the horse. He guessed that these 4 children had run away from home, asked them for their address and send them home. But the next moment, 4 living people disappeared directly in front of him. He also took his horse with him. I can only feel sorry for this. At this time, the young man and his group were taken into another world again. Unlike the little fight last time, this time the rescue team will face an army of dead souls alone. This guy is being chased by a group of monsters. I saw him riding a horse. After a gorgeous spin jump in the air, jumped directly into the sea with a splash. He also called his companions to jump into the sea with him. In the next moment, it turns out that the young man just wanted to lure the dead soul disciples over. After resolving this crisis, the rescue team finally gets a good night's rest. The little fat guy was shivering from the cold at night. He suggested that 4 people could huddle together to keep warm. But Da Zhuang was very disdainful of this. It means real men never engage in homosexuality. And then immediately, you saw such a world-famous painting. The boy wakes up first. He left the team on his hands and knees, because he has more important things to do. He found his aunt, asked about father's whereabouts. But the answer he got disillusioned him. It turns out that his father is an out-and-out alcoholic. Abandoned him and his mother before he was born. And the picture book that represents the prophecy, nor was it left to him by his father. It's just a white lie that mom didn't want to disappoint him. The guy has a nervous breakdown. He doesn't know if what he is doing is right or not. I don't know if all this is true. Or maybe it's just an empty fantasy in your own mind. Maybe he was just dreaming, as his mother said. Then the rescue team appeared. They told the boy. It was the young man's cleverness that saved them all this time. Even if there is no prophetic picture book, the young man is also the king who saves the world. And Merlin also told the young man, the legend in the book is already past history, but now the legend needs to be written by the young man himself. Support from partners helps young man regain confidence. They came to the place sealed by the witch Morgana, and the witch has been waiting for a long time again. As soon as he came up, he gave the salvation team a disastrous blow. Tie 4 people to the top of the wall. Witch seduces boy. Said these people are stupid, brainless and have no love. You follow me. When the time comes, we will eat and drink spicy food and be happy. The young man was really moved when he heard it. I saw him slowly walking towards the witch. The witch was also happy to welcome her with open arms. In the next moment, it turns out that the young man was just pretending to surrender. He picked up the plane and killed the witch. After the witch died, the cave is crumbling without the support of the witch's magic. The young man took his friends out of the cave. Everything finally settled. They all went home to find their respective mothers. But as we all know, if nothing else happens, there must be an accident. After returning home, the world actually showed signs of destruction. Merlin appears again. He told the boy that Morgana is not dead yet. The The young man at that time just hurt her. Injured Morgana is furious, determined to destroy the world during a total solar eclipse in a few hours. Crisis situation, but after last experience, the guy wants to form an army. But the 5 of them alone are not enough to save the world. So Merlin once again used his great deception function. After some deception, the principal agreed to hold this exercise. But it doesn't matter if the principal agrees. Students are concerned about such a thankless job. Not hot. Intel. Registered. No need to go to class today. So a vigorous rescue campaign began. They gave every student armor and shields. A series of checkpoints have been arranged on campus. A few hours passed by in a flash. It's finally time for the decisive battle. A mighty army of dead souls emerged from the ground. A large army of dead souls died on a level set by students. But in the end, many dead soul soldiers rushed into the school. In desperation, the young man could only ask everyone to retreat to the rooftop first. At this time, the witch finally appeared again. She burst into flames as soon as she came up. At this time, the young man bravely stood up. Raising the sword in the stone attracted the witch's attention. Then Xiaopeng also turned over from the table. He reached out and threw it and caught Morgana. Then there was a tug. The little guys tried to control them with ropes. But they can't hold it back at all. Merlin suddenly appears at the critical moment. Now Morgana is finally completely under control. The young man took the opportunity to jump on top of the witch. In one fell swoop, he thrust the sword into the back of her neck. I saw Morgana turned into a small ball of light. Immediately it expanded and exploded. The witch is finally dead. All the dead troops were also wiped out. After a burst of intense heat, the world has returned to peace. Along the way, the young men have gone through countless hardships and obstacles, but they rely on their faith in each other to have any unnecessary courage. Finally defeated Morgana, keeping the world safe. The end of the story. The young man returned the sword in the stone to its rightful place. The story of the sword in the stone ends here, but their story is yet to be continued. Okay, the video ends here. I am 11. See you next time.